Welcome to the month of October, my favorite time of the year. It's orange outside, the leaves are falling, it's getting very cool outside, but most importantly, it's the spooky season. Horror movies galore all month long. Like every year I've done the past couple of years, I'm just going to review a bunch of horror movies. You guys can give recommendations right down below. Comment, throw out a horror movie you want me to review that I have not reviewed before, and I will do my best to review them because I got a long list, okay? But hey, let's go all the way back to 1922 and talk about the oldest movie I own. Released in 1922, today we are talking about my first ever review on a silent film, Nosferatu. Listen, I can't even really begin saying how much of a classic this movie is. I mean, it is. It is. I mean, this movie is more than classic. This movie is history. Like, this is a part of history, especially in the film world, because as a college student who does take film classes, we took a certain section in our, I forget what genre class it was, but it wasn't horror, and basically we had to study silent films, and we watched Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and a bunch of classics like that, but Nosferatu is one of that, and I actually had a test question on the movie. So I've actually had some study on Nosferatu last semester, and it was interesting. Obviously, as a huge movie lover, learning more about the most classic horror monster you could ever have in Dracula, go back and learn about what this movie is and how important it was for America in general to get to see this movie and have it be released, and then later on America's like, hey, motion pictures are moving now, let's make movies like Germany is, because this is a German film and it's obviously a silent film. But the thing is about this movie is it came out, you gotta think about this, 1922. You think about movies nowadays. Movies are made with so much practical CGI, actors, and like the images you get in horror movies today and movies in general, those directors and writers go back to Nosferatu. I mean, this movie is the definition of a classic. So again, I can't really add much to it except just my personal opinion, and it's a classic. Now, let me just say this, just flat out. I was born in 1999, and I, like many, saw this movie and found out about Nosferatu from one scene.
Wait! If that was you on the phone and you on the bus, then who was flickering the lights?
Nosferatu!
Yes, so raise your hand and tell me, were you one of those kids that knew about Nosferatu from SpongeBob? I mean, honestly, give SpongeBob credit. You gave me nightmares as a child, but also informed me on what Dracula was. So seriously, like, I'm not even kidding. SpongeBob, love it to death. I love SpongeBob. But when I was little, that episode of the hash-slinging slasher, it creeped me out. It gave me, like, the ooey gooey, like it was like, ooh, goosebumps, like it was just creepy. And to see that like thing and it not be animated and it cut to it and just show it, it creeped me out. I was like, ugh, what is that thing? And so as a kid, I think I remember like late at night, I got on the computer and I looked up like that SpongeBob episode and I found out that Nosferatu was a movie, and I was like, ooh. And I think at the time, the full movie was on YouTube. I don't know if it is now, but basically I watched that movie as a young kid, and like it was my first time I watched a silent film that I really watched it and I was like, is there like no talking? But this movie to this day is still just creepy. Like, you think of the definition of creepy, it's Nosferatu from 1922. This movie is just unsettling, and honestly it's due to Max Schreck. Max Schreck as obviously Dracula. I mean, I know it's like Orlok, whatever, but it's Dracula. I hope all of you know Nosferatu is Dracula. It's the story of Dracula. But obviously, with it being like back then, the story was only being shown on plays. And so when they brought it to the screen from the novel, this is what they created. So you got to think about that. Nowadays, movies can just like go back and be like, all right, we want to like replicate this. In 1920, they didn't have that. They were like, hey, we got a book. We want to create that. And we got that. And it's creepy. So as a young kid, when I watched that movie, like it creeped me out. And SpongeBob gave me those nightmares, so thanks for that. But as a kid growing up, I learned more about Dracula. Then I watched the 1931 Dracula. Then I watched more vampire movies, and I just fell in love with vampire movies. I truly will say, I think this year has helped me. I think the subgenre of vampires in the horror genre is my favorite subgenre, and there's 1,000 subgenres in horror, but vampire might be my favorite, and you gotta go back to Nosferatu. I mean, what Max Schreck does in this film is just, it's masterclass acting, and it's a silent film. Think about that. You got the definition of acting in this movie. And just the music and the score and watching this movie and how they got certain shots was like the shot of like the boat moving, like going towards them while it's going towards the left off screen and the camera's going forward. It's like, you don't have a dolly. You don't have high-speed boats. They were on an old ship in 1920 filming this thing. And what's really cool is they filmed the whole movie in like daytime, but obviously with the color being like yellow, purple, and stuff like that. It's not black and white. It takes away the darkness, and so like the blue is nighttime. And so you get like obviously the famous shot of him coming up the stairs with the shadow. I mean, that is like the definition of like peak horror cinematography. The shadow of Nosferatu, the monster coming upstairs, the woman being scared, and the claw grabbing her heart through a shadow. It's beautiful filmmaking at its finest. But again, people nowadays aren't going to give a huge appreciation to this movie because it's a silent film. It's an hour and a half of a movie that's very slow. There's no talking. And unfortunately, as my only little criticism, and again, I was born in 1999, I wasn't born in 1920, watching this movie can feel like a chore. Now, I do appreciate seeing this movie completely tell the story through the vampire coming out, telling this man to come here and basically get his estate settled so he can leave. We see the ship section, then we see him there, and obviously the stuff with his wife. Like, all that stuff is really good. But unfortunately, it's because it's a silent film, it's really hard for me to just sit there and watch the movie, okay? But I can appreciate the movie. I appreciate cinematography, Max Schreck, the beautiful score. It's just a movie I'm not rewatching all the time. But it's a masterpiece in cinema. It should be studied like I did, and all the history of what SpongeBob did to me. I walk away and I say, this is a classic, and I will always give it a watch every once in a while because you gotta appreciate it. I'm gonna give Nosferatu an A. And now I can finally mention, yes, I am so excited for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu this December. It has been my most anticipated movie of the year, and it's 100% the reason why. I was like, I'm reviewing the silent film Nosferatu this Halloween. I had that, as soon as the movie was scheduled for this year, I was like, yep, I'm reviewing that movie during Halloween, because perfect timing, seriously. It comes out in December. I am so excited. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see Robert Eggers do a Nosferatu movie, and Bill Skarsgård is playing Count. Man, I mean, I cannot wait to review that movie. I can't wait to see it. I just can't wait to see it. Oh, so excited. So yes, what did you guys think of Nosferatu? Have you seen it? Did you learn about this movie through SpongeBob like I did? And obviously, like I said, leave a comment down below. If there's a horror movie you want me to review that I have not reviewed, I will do my best. I promise. But don't get me wrong. We got a full list this year, and it's going to be fun. Hope you guys have a great time and a spooky season, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.